when you are setting up goals for your investments, especially not just even investments, when you are setting up goals that you want to pursue, it's extremely important to set up some which is absolutely long term. Something that which you would want to call a vision. To so many of us men, we have come to define some of that as a legacy. Something that sometimes must outlive you. And now, not all of us will achieve it, but sometimes it's too big enough that it scares you in that regard. But there is no way you're going to set up that legacy, that building, that vision that is so long enough that you won't set up short-term goals, the 2-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals. I always find a challenge that many times people set up the 3-year goals, the short-term 5-year goals, 8-year goals, and when they achieve that, they enter into celebratory mode. Not that you shouldn't celebrate, but maybe you dreamt short term, you dreamt little, you under-dreamt, right? So the best way I would put it, right? When you have a short-term goal, that's good, that's a starting position. But I would rather you start getting a much bigger vision, a much bigger goal, like I said to the men, there is that legacy you want to leave, that name, that everything. And these days it's about money. No one remembers you lately without money. No one will remember you when all you did was like, oh, I breathed, So when you have that, sometimes you're going to define it like in 30 years from now. You're going to define it in maybe 50 years from now. I'm telling people these days when I'm talking to clients, can we sit down and come up with something that in 30 years from now, you can easily be like, perfect. I've achieved this, or I've tried achieving this. I might not have achieved it, but my kids will go on to achieve it. To the extent possible, there is that saying where they say the best inheritance you can ever leave is the inheritance to your grandkids. Something that, and not everyone can achieve it, and I agree. But when you set it out to achieve, to go for it, to go after it, right? You'd rather have that on the paper, and you say, my vision is a 25-year vision. That in the 25 years, I want to have a legacy of a financial muscle that may be, let's call it in financial terms, $1 million and above. Now that's 25 years from now. For someone who is 30, you have thrown it when you're 55. Now 55 looks like it's far away, but when you look at 55-year-olds, they are not that old these days. They are 55-year-olds are like the new 40s or 45s. So 25 years from now, then you're like, I need to have that $1 million. In 35 years from now, I need to have maybe a 1.5. Now, you see, now all of a sudden, it throws you off your balance. Because it's now bigger, it's now scarier, it's now harder to achieve. But it's big. Then after that, but no one sets up a vision. Even when we are doing strategy, corporate, I help these days companies to come up with strategies and visions and structure their culture around that, right? No one builds that big vision and they don't come up with a strategy and short to medium term goals to achieve them. Now, we've talked, let's assume $1 million. Then you come back and be like, you know what? But in 2 years, I must measure it. In 2 years, I must be here. In 3 years, I must be here. In 5 years, I must be here. 8 years here. That every single 2 years or every single year, you can measure your progress and you say, have I achieved this? Have I reached here? Have I reached here? That way, you can even track your progress for some bigger goal. Mid-term here, you will still celebrate. The 8-year goal you have will become part and parcel of the bigger vision of your family. But when you achieve it, it's not like you are not going to be like, oh my goodness, we have achieved it, because you have a long journey to go. So why am I starting from there? Is to recalibrate a mindset when now after you go back and think about like, wait a minute. I have an 8-year goal. I'll be what? 38, 40? What about it 55? Should I wait for that goal to set it when I'm 40? No, you set it now and try going after it, right? And you set it big enough, challenging enough, hard enough, to be in a position to challenge you on how you do things. And just these few years, every single year, you sit down as a family, you bring your wife, you say, how far have we achieved this? And you break it down in the standard way we do it for organizations. You break it down that we have achieved the A, we have achieved the B, we have achieved the C. Now what do we do? But at the end, everything points to the ultimate goal you have that is long enough. So you must have that. You must have that.